thank you, everybody, for joining us, and thank you particularly Dan Thorens for joining us all the way from Brussels. Woohoo! Hi, Marcy. Nice to see you on video. My name is Joanne Butcher. I'm a business coach for filmmakers, and I really focus on helping filmmakers around everything to do with business, which is not necessarily what filmmakers are naturally thinking about. But I'm absolutely convinced that when filmmakers focus on business, they do really well, actually. And because they're very creative, so they can be creative with business as well. So, what I do with these interviews is I really focus on how does this particular filmmaker, today it's Dan, how did they build their career? And then how can everybody else who's coming to participate, how can take these notions? One of the things that I've noticed since doing these interviews is that any idea that there's some kind of single path is false. There's no such thing as a single path. Some people go to film school, some people don't go to film school, some people make their own films, some people have jobs in the industry, some people do all of those things. So it's just fascinating to hear how filmmakers build their careers. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, Dan, and thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to getting to know more about your work. My first question that I always like to ask is, when did you first know that you were a filmmaker?
Unmute. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for having me, Joanne. Pleasure to speak with you again. My path is a zigzag, but I come from the actor world. So I knew I wanted to be a director when I got over myself.
When you got over yourself as an actor? It's funny because I think that my experience of acting was I just was not comfortable being in that position of basically being told what to do. And I don't necessarily mean by the director, I mean by the script, being told what to do by the script. And it felt like a very disempowered position for me. Is that what you mean when you realize you got over
Well,
yourself?
not. In fact, there's one agent telling me the truth about actors. And again, I don't know if there's any actors in the room, but I might disenchant them with the one. I was always, it's between me and this other guy or whatever.
Mm.
And one agent finally explained to me, basically, they have this important actor from this agency, and the director likes you better, but the agency gives him the main actor for half price if they take three other actors, and so therefore he can't take you. So it's often a issue of economics, and that got to me. And at some point, I started, directing theater, and then moving to the States from Paris because I speak French as well, so I can move in both languages. And founded my production in the States, and realized it's easier to sell myself through film and as a director, and you have much more control over the
Yes.
creative
Yes.
process as well.
And control, is a word that has some negative connotations sometimes, but I think agency is what I'm talking about. And I wouldn't be worried about putting off actors, because actors who love their craft are not going to be put off, you know. But there's still an element of how does this business work, and that's the story you just told. It's like um, decisions about actors are made for business reasons, and so actors and directors, everybody thinks that decisions are being made because of talent, but it's not.
Absolutely.
It's not that it's 100% not.
Right.
I just saw a clip from a new film that Timothy Chalamet is in, and I think there are certain times, I was lucky enough to be at Sundance and see the premiere of Ryan Gosling's first film. and you just, look at that film, The Believer, and it's like, that is a genius. That is an acting genius. There's no question about it. So the talent does show through, but
Of course.
ultimately it becomes a business decision. And so I think those of us who realize that are more likely to become producers even than directors, right? So you found yourself in the States. Where in the States were you?
So I came to New York City because this the only probably city I could really evolve in because I'm half European. So I love New York, the bustling energy, and the mixed cultures that kind of live together, not in perfect harmony, but in perfect tolerance for the most part. And it's basically also a maturity aspect where you realize you really I had it in me to direct, but I had to learn as an actor. So I also have this. I would advise that most directors, because I've worked with famous directors as well as an actor, and a lot of them didn't know really. They were happy I brought the character and I know my craft, and but we never really build the character together, which is what I really like to do. So I direct actors the way I would have wanted to be directed, and I
Mm.
advise any director to try acting. It's so much fun.
Yes, I love that, and I don't think I've had a guest on that talked about that. But I know for myself, I'm very glad that I studied acting. I studied acting very seriously for a while. Um, so, how do you think that an actor wants to be directed? What is it that you can bring to that
Well,
relationship?
that's the thing. The only thing I can bring to the table, and we had a discussion. I see one of my friends in the audience who's also a filmmaker. It's the audition process. I have my own brand of audition process, and my thing is detect the prima donnas and avoid them.
And avoid them.
Because on a set, it's a very fragile balance between egos, and I mean egos in check usually, and there's ways to test out the that ego in the audition process, starting from the audition process with actors. So I'm kind of okay, you know your lines, okay, drop the lines, let's improvise something, and you're not a macho guy now, you're gay. Go ahead. And
Uh-huh.
so I put him off balance to see how they adapt, to see, again, it's like a trapeze move where do you take risks? What is your instinctive way of acting, which is really what I'm interested in more in depth, rather than you're very good at delivering lines and things like that. So there's a way to put people out of their comfort zone, especially actors, and they enjoy it very much because that's where they, they find an element of freedom of to try out things, and that's what I want to see.
That's great. And then you also said about building a character, because one the thing I think I found the most fascinating about acting was this concept of building a backstory, whether there was one there or not, in the text. Um, that was what I found the most satisfying for me. Is that what you meant when you talked about build a character together with
Well,
director
not
and
exactly. For me, each actor I know because I tried all the different methods alive, and I know what works for me. So I know each actor will have a method or whatever, a way of working that works for them. Now, you as an actor, you have to come to a director and be ready to be a virgin again, and try to me to find that communication. I don't care how you work, just come to the set with, don't tell me that you have to do your sense memory for 2 hours before we attack the thing. I expect you to have worked and to be ready to try out things with me. So that again, it's a more simple. It's like even Stanislavski, super interesting the method, and then at the end of his life, he also put into questions a lot of things. So there's an evolutionary process, and then coming from the actor again, I've experienced what it is to try out this, to try out that, and I just want people who are here to work together in the present with me and build the character together. It's a little, I compare it often to a tennis game.
I see what you're saying. Yes, I get it. I get it. So, after you were directing in New York, you said you went sort of from theater to film. Is that right? That's what happened
Yes.
during that time. And what kind of work did you do in the film world?
So I was hired to do interviews a lot, celebrities, things like that, red carpets, interviews, events, a few things like that. And in fact, what they liked about me is that I would stage these delegates who came to do, in the hotel industry or the fitness industry, and they were here to talk business. And on the side, at one point they all came to see me because I made them play characters. Like you have the CEO of the pillow, whatever, who sells pillows to the Hyatt, and I had handcuffs, and I had one arrest him because he cheated, and then we would show this video at the end of the show, which was kind of cherry on the cake. So it was kind of fun, a little, at one point it's always the same process, and but for them it was, let me be the actor, an actor in this kind of boring meeting that I'm having, and we would do a short video for doing that. But that's how I was able to pay the bills and keep working with a camera, if I could say.
That's
And then
great.
I started writing. I think that's the big thing that changed for me, because I was looking for the right script. So people would send me scripts, and I would those I would like. I would get back to the author and say, would you mind modifying this or that? And then the egos were also a big issue, because people are very attached to their little baby, and we. So to me, it was like an uphill battle just to get people to want to accept, to modify their work of art or whatever.
Collaborate.
Yeah, yeah, but and so I started daring to write. I always thought to write you have to suffer. So I didn't really suffer. I had a very lucky childhood, and I said, "What am I going to write about?" And in fact, there's a thing called imagination. I don't know if you heard about it. I mean, I used it as an actor, but I thought for character and stuff. But just open the faucet, learn where the faucet is, open the faucet, and then ideas, started flowing. So I really love this aspect. I did a first short film, and with no budget, and just again, the help of friends who are, were DPs and things like that. And once you got to make your first baby, and then after the first baby it becomes easier, because then you see what your weaknesses are, and so the acting was never a problem. Directing has always been, a natural thing for me. But to assemble a team of people who each know what they're doing, that's something else. So I
Mm.
barely knew the people who were helping me, and the result is equal to your weakest link.
Yes. So, after you made that short, did you go on to make a feature film? Was that your next step?
Well, yes, the thing is, I'm a co-writer more than a writer. I prefer to co-write, and it's much faster, it's more creative, and you come up with more original things, according to me. So I'm very multicultural, and I love Asia, and I co-wrote a script based on my experience trying to learn Chinese with a Chinese author in New York. So there was one part happening in New York and one part happening in Asia, and it's a huge market as well. And we pushed it. We went to the Whistler Festival. We were accepted there to pitch in front of investors, and we pushed it for a year. And in the end, the actress I found to play the lead role wasn't famous enough, and that was my first sort of, let's say, slap in the face of, you need to have more important actors in your film, otherwise your film's not going to get made. And everybody loved the script. That's the problem. But nobody wanted to take a chance for the budget that they gave me if the actress wasn't. It's a Chinese actress as well. So the
Mm.
big issue in China of having someone again that is famous enough for to satisfy the ROI.
It's funny, I have a client, we just were talking yesterday in Puerto Rico, and she's making a film about a Puerto Rican woman who goes to China,
Nice.
apparently to spend some time with her best friend, and her best friend basically stands her up and she's on her own in China.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
That's kind of
And
the thing what happens to the main character. It's basically culture shock,
yes,
of going in the countryside in China. And
yes. I've been to China and experienced that culture shock, and I China blew me away. I absolutely loved it.
yeah, yeah,
But part
great.
of it was that kind of like, I don't know what is going on. And I thought that was fun, you
No,
know.
and then the lettering. I mean, you really
Yes,
lost. Like
really
of the,
lost. Really lost. Absolutely have no idea what's going on. So that was a disappointment. So what did you do next?
so I was at the media center in Dumbo, New York. I'm not. It doesn't exist anymore. I think they used to have that media center run by IFP.
I thought it was still there, but
Well, again, I'm not sure if it's still
yeah,
running the same way, at least, but it's great because it's kind of a co-working space. You would pay your dues, monthly dues, and there was a cinema. You could do projections, invite people. Anyway, really, and there's an incubator as well. So I
right.
met a producer there who really tried to push the Chinese film with me, and he had worked 7 years in Geneva, and so he said, I got people with money in Geneva. Why don't you go there? You write me a script, and then we'll produce it. So I trusted him, and I'm half Swiss as well. So I went to Switzerland and I wrote a very more personal script based on my sort of ignorance of Switzerland, but a kind of return of the prodigal son type story that could be done for, again, a low enough budget, contain one main location. And again, the Swiss are what the Swiss are, and the people with the money did not, it wasn't the kind of film that they necessarily want to see. It's a film that scratches the surface of mentalities there, and the Swiss don't like to be frazzled. So, but I still, in a way, what's strange is like 3 years later, I've been in Belgium 3 years. Now I met in Paris, I met a Swiss producer who absolutely loves Swiss made, and we're going to meet in a week.
Uh-huh.
And he
And
wants to
that's
help me produce it. So,
that's funny when you say the Swiss don't like to be frazzled, because in a way, I think filmmaking is the fastest thing out there. So you kind of have to enjoy that aspect of it, that it's very fast, it's kind of ridiculously fast. And so yeah, but another kind of putting this thing of putting all the pieces together. I mean, you're clearly a real producer.
well, again, I know how to play producer like a good actor, but it's really my thing is boots on the ground, directing actors, getting that performance out and making sure again that everybody's happy and doing their thing, on the set.
So did that project move forward? That
So again, it almost came to fruition, and then again, I didn't have a famous actor. Same, because my it's an American. I bring in a small Swiss village. Same kind of idea, but
yes.
there's an inheritance behind it, so there's much more of a personal story involved. But so as I was pushing through, meeting different producers, getting fantastic scripts. Sorry, I can't help you. Uh, Same runaround. I meet this guy whose wife is Belgian,
Mm.
and she says, "What are you doing in Switzerland? Why don't you go to Belgium?" I said, "Why would I go to Belgium? There's chocolate here." I mean, that was my. They said, "No, we have the tax shelter." What? The tax? It's like a tax rebate? No, no, no. It's the tax shelter. And she filled me in on what it was. I went there, I went to Cannes basically, and met again Belgian people there. Crazy. I mean, they're crazy energy. And she said, "You got to come to Belgium. This is the place for you." Very international city. Brussels is the
Right.
capital of Europe.
Yeah.
English is normal to speak English over there. And I came and I just, I shot a teaser, showed it to a producer. The producer loved the teaser. We met, pitch deck, etc., fine tuning the script. And March 2020, I had a €4 million budget, and with
Wow.
50% of subsidies from the tax shelter, 20% from France because we're going to shoot on the French island, and then 30% equity because Americans are super happy to jump in as a
Right.
minority producer.
Right.
So, and I had producer who liked my work as well, and it's less of a risk for them, and they couldn't believe I found, over half the budget. So,
So what is the difference between a tax shelter and a tax rebate or a tax incentive?
so in Belgium, and I don't know why other countries don't adopt this. The government allows for 90% of taxes, which corporations do pay in Europe. Hello, it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So those are big amounts. They can go straight to audiovisual.
Mm.
So these production houses have a tax shelter department, and they get, if corporations decide to put 90% of their taxes in film, uh, they give them the money. It can be up to 15 million, which is kind of crazy, but mine was 4 million, but it was a huge budget for me. And so they arrange a call, they do the paperwork, so they get a certain percentage for sure, the main production house. And then again, it's the first domino that then people see that, okay, my film is on track. Then this other subsidy is easier to convince because I already have 50% of the budget. And then, like I said, I have producers in the States who like my work and are willing to help me find investors or that are willing to put the money up, the missing money, so 30% of 4 million. And so
So
then COVID came.
right. So it sounds as though, you got to the point where you were like, I know how to make this souffle work.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
I know how to make this souffle work. Here we have our 4 million, our tax shelter, our minority American investors, our French 20%, and then COVID hit. So I guess the souffle,
Yes. What is souffle, like you said? But so March 2020, again, choosing what DP are we going to choose? Basically, everything is on hold. I mean, every lockdown. So it's pretty brutal. So for me, it was really a decision to, it had been, up to almost a year, which is not much, but still, I really, fought to get this together. Went to Canada, met some producers there just to make sure they're on board, etc. So um, it was a huge disappointment, and it was either going to a depression mode
right?
or I'm lucky to have amazing co-writers. Let's do another one that's COVID regulations friendly.
Aha, right.
So we co-wrote VY Inc., which is my latest baby. That's totally in the time,
Aha.
even without before Meta came in, before Metaverse and everything. It's really it deals with an agency that sells people customized virtual travels to escape reality.
Huh.
So it's basically also contained in just two main locations in Brussels or in any other international city that will give me the production money, and a virtual studio to involve the VR travels using Unreal Engine, which is a software that we use a lot to portray, realistic or surrealist environments, which is great for the VR travel. So that's now my latest baby that I think is because COVID, we're never really out of COVID, so we're not sure,
Right.
like the other one had too many locations, and this one, again, it was custom written to be in case there's another COVID outbreak that we could still keep it, in one city, and a virtual studio to involve landscapes and things like that. So.
So in order to make this particular souffle, what are the other pieces that you need to bring to the table?
So I was trying to redo the recipe. I love the souffle analogy because
This is
that
so hard to get it right.
and exactly. So the same producers, of course, 2 years later are not available, or The other one was a thriller about organ trafficking, so this one is really different, sci-fi thriller. And so I'm looking at a different kind of breed of a producer. So I was trying to find the same thing in Brussels, and so I'm navigating this thing, trying to also now Swiss made this, which is my other film, is showing a lot of promise with this producer I met in Paris. I didn't expect to meet him. So you have to be ready at every time, to, to adapt yourself and be script ready as well. In a sense of people will want to, if you convince people through my teasers, then pitch decks, etc., to want to read your script, it better be ready. It better be, you better have done enough drafts that it's kind of, exciting to read. So that's where I'm at.
So are you using the Belgian tax shelter this time for this film?
I'm reaching out to producers and trying to leverage again the contacts I had 2 years ago.
Huh.
But again, it was a tunnel. Nobody was talking to each other, and I was deep in the writing process for 2 years. And again, I have another teaser that helps me a lot to get through to the first appointment. So I
Yes.
definitely advise doing teasers as well.
Yes, nice. And then with all of this work in development and pushing these projects forward, how do you keep your both on the one hand your creative self going, and then how do you also manage to pay the bills?
Absolutely.
Because you haven't mentioned that you were independently wealthy yet, so
Yes, I should have inherited, but
we shouldn't we all?
no, but again, having worked with I have a few small savings, but like in early September, I have a corporate job to shoot interviews in a nuclear site in France. So I'm getting little jobs left and right, and my rent is cheap enough. I don't live above my means, but I keep it, I keep it real. I keep it, I don't overspend what I can because I need to travel sometimes. If I need to go meet
Right.
somebody, I know that it's precious. So, and so I still get these small corporate jobs with, especially when they need English in Europe, because English is the passport language. So they often need somebody creative and that speaks very good English to deal with other, if it's an American client. I know American mentality really well, and to stay creative, I host a writers group that is very precious to me, and I think people get a lot from it because it's meant to jumpstart your creativity as well, without me teaching you anything. But it's really that this it's brought me to meet amazing people from all over the world. It used to be like Canadian style, we each bring a lot cookies or whatever, and we meet in a location. But COVID made it, a Zoom version. So I got people from England, the States, if they can make the schedule, and we do a Zoom every week.
Haha. And what's the format for your writers group?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's basically we work on this idea of prompts, but to put you outside your comfort zone. Very like outrageous prompts where you still have to figure it out. And it's amazing because our brain, if we are in our comfort zone, that's where we become less creative. But giving ourselves a hard time, the brain figures it out. I mean, if you're just willing to jump in the pool, because it's timed, so you have 10 minutes to write something. And it's
Ah,
amazing what people come up with. It's amazing.
I see. So you give the prompt, everybody writes for 10 minutes, and then do you read? Is that part of
Of
the
course, you got to show your baby. Oh, look, mine has two fingers. No, I mean, the law is you're forbidden to, if you start to look for excuses, you have to bake cookies for the whole group and
Oh,
send them via
wow.
mail.
That's serious. Yes.
No, no, we are serious about punishment, big time.
No, I love that. It's a little bit based on what you were talking about earlier with the director and the actor, and giving these something to get somebody out of their
Absolutely.
comfort zone.
And the good thing is some of us actually take some of these prompts and we made it into a short film, and it becomes a real interesting experiment from without really by just having come up with a story in a very fast fashion to test it out with real actors and in a real setting, of course, with the means sometimes shooting with a smartphone, but it's amazing the results you get, and this could ignite another script eventually as well. So I know enough actors, English speaking, French speaking, in Belgium to keep that energy going as well. So they started to know me as well through that, and I it's a way for me to test out actors as well, to see how they behave on a half a day shoot.
Wow, this sounds great, Dan. That really sounds great. And I think, in COVID, there's been this sort of challenge of, well, the social piece is a challenge, but then the creative part. So it seems like you've come up with something really, really good. So the current project that you're working on, what is that one? I know you told us sort of obliquely what it is, but what's the that actual film? Was it called The Y Man?
No, VY Inc. It's
VY
virtually yours, virtually yours
Virtually Yours.
incorporated. Yeah.
I don't know where I got the
It's a
Y Man.
company, it's an agency, that's the name of the agency. So it's 10 years down the road, COVID 31, right? And life is still mowing along, and people get their fix to escape reality by uh, going to this agency that can program the the character that you always wanted to be, and you can live that fantasy for half an hour at the agency, and then go on your way. So it raises also this all these issues about the ethics of, if somebody wants a fantasy that's a little, borderline, what do you do? Is does everything that happens in virtual reality stay in virtual reality? This type of, questioning, which I think is very relevant today. I mean, people talk about the metaverse in a sort of everybody's an expert, right? What has it been? Yeah, like a year. So we know very little about this, but I think there's a big push for people to want to immerse themselves in some sort of alternate reality to again experience something different, or to get your fix, basically to to keep it together in life,
Hmm.
because COVID was really hard on a lot of people, not just the disease, but the virus, but the depression. I think it hit a lot, especially actors. So I even created a fake agency website with fake testimonials of people going to the agency. So again, it's that's where you keep it creative, and you at the same time you get people involved in the project. People start talking about the project. So what I really like is to develop a sense of community, and even
Yes.
directors helping directors, us working with actors as well, where there's no sort of the big bet of okay, this is my first feature, and then there's a lot of tension and stuff. So it, people start to get to know you in a more casual way, and there's less of a the stakes are not as high, but the relaxation allows you to create really sometimes very very creative stuff, and everybody takes risks, and everybody enjoys the process.
I love the VR component. I really like VR. And when I was still living in San Francisco, I was part of this women's VR collective, and they were trying to come up with a set of guidelines for behavior in, I guess, what is now called the metaverse. But apparently, there was a lot of sexual abuse happening
Yeah.
in that world, and I was like, Oh my God. I guess human beings are human beings wherever they go, even if it's in virtual reality. Um, but it just, there were questions that I really had not thought about at all about that that kind of behavior and how women were being treated in those
Yeah,
spaces.
absolutely. Well, you've seen Westworld, which is really interesting, and that's in reality the far west notion, and guys only go there to screw and kill people.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
or both at the same time.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it is a mind-blowing kind of series because of the yeah, you can shoot these, and the whole android aspect, like in Blade Runner when they started this, when they start to develop feelings, uh, and that's again fascinating discussions around AI and stuff.
Yeah, I love Westworld so much, and I
Yeah.
was watching whatever the last episode, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on, and I love it. It's like it goes meta, and then it goes more meta than that, and then it goes more meta than that, and you're like, whoa, where are we? Really, really good stuff. But you know, people are spending more and more and more time in the metaverse, and um, it's just a sad truth that
Well, there's a fine line again, and the series Black Mirror touches on that as well, which I really appreciate as well, especially certain episodes. But this whole when is too much technology start to affect your brain, and like anything, I mean, humans, we come up with amazing technology and amazing inventions, and E equals MC squared. Let's build a bomb. Whereas we could also build the nuclear plants that offer electricity. So there's always a good way or a bad way to use it, and it's almost like the bad way is the first one we choose. So I love to write about things that have a humorous tone, a satire in a way, but still defend a solid idea, which I think Black Mirror does a lot, in its tone,
oh
and
yeah,
it's
well,
essential. It gets the
British.
conversations going, about the subject.
It's British, so irony and
Yeah.
satire is like dripping in irony and satire. So I wanted to ask you just on sort of a practical level, since a lot of the people who come and listen to these interviews are Americans, how would an American producer team up with somebody like you so that they could be involved in a co-production that could access some of these funds? When you were talking about Belgium, I actually just Googled it, but I couldn't find anything. Strong
I'll send
Island.
you the link. Yeah, that explains the tax shelter. Yeah.
Okay, Strong Island was, I believe, the first feature film made by a transgender person, and it's a documentary about the director's brother's murder at the hands of the police, and it was funded a lot by Belgian, and I think it paid for post production. The post production I think was handled in Belgium, is what I
Yeah.
remember about that. But yes, so how would a film producer, how would an American film producer, how would they even know to find you, for example?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of all over the place, and it's very easy to just if you put
But
my
I, but
name
I,
in.
but I just mean, let's say a film producer thinks, a US film producer thinks, oh, I want to shoot something in Belgium, or I want to shoot something
Yeah.
in Spain.
So
How would they, what would the process look like?
So basically, I mean, and I'm really simplifying here because it's of course a little more
Sure.
complex than that, but
Good.
70% of the money spent in the budget has to deal with either using Belgian crew, locations, post-production. Again, it's all about the money spent. You don't even have to shoot there necessarily. But
Yes.
in order to get up to 50%, then 70% needs to happen. Or you bring your Belgian, the very talented people, I mean, everywhere, but in Belgium especially when you look at the Flemish and what they produce, uh, given the language they have, it's almost crazy. But So 70% needs to be spent with using anything Belgium. So you have to be creative as a producer to find ways to, you know, spend that money using rightfully. So basically, the money they give you, they re-inject in the economy. I'm basically hiring Belgian
Yes. Right.
people, so it's a very smart thing to do, and also allows, first money in is the big question when you do a film. Who's going to put the money first money in, and then others come in because they say, oh, maybe there's something interesting because he took a chance, and so this allows you to have leverage when, especially I talk to my American producer contacts, that I have this already established. Now, it depends if the person is interested to come shoot in Belgium, or they just want to eventually use Belgium money to do post production here
Right.
with
Right.
with their own. So it's really about, again, the numbers. Crunch the numbers. How much can you spend? How much do you spend in post? And then this will give you the equivalence of the tax shelter that you're entitled for.
Yes. That piece, I think I am clear about. What I'm really asking is
Oh,
what
sorry. Yeah.
the, the teaming up of the team that
Yeah.
is the American producer and the, in this case, Belgian producer. How does that work?
So it's as simple as reaching out to these Belgian production. Ideally, again, the network is your net worth aspect where, I know a few, of course, depending on what is coming from the States. Uh, it's a love and hate relationship with the States because it's either, the sort of arrogance of, we're more powerful, so, take me to your leader, and we don't talk to little people. But Belgium is interesting because they're very open to co-production as well. So it's really about figuring out, again, doing the due diligence of going. There's a list of all the productions, Belgian productions. Just know that Flemish
Aha.
they have more. There's more money in Flanders, and Brussels sort of follows through. Brussels is a unique entity. Flanders on top and Walloon at the bottom is caters more to French speaking,
Hmm.
but they still produce international stuff. So it's not about just focusing on Flanders, but it's the production I found is a Flemish production, but they're based in Brussels, and there's more money, and they're the ones who fine tune the budget, and then of course we had Zoom calls with my American producers just to align everything. So the first thing is, yeah, I mean, whether it's through me or well, if you know anyone that is in Belgium, then it could be easier because I can actually meet up with them directly, and I have a sort of I can say I'm in Brussels, but my partner is in the States, and introduce them this way, and we have this project, and I know about the tax shelter, so they might give me an entry point that's easier than if you come as an American without knowing anything.
Aha. Right. Right.
But
Right.
not just me, maybe somebody even more connected than me in Belgium.
Yes. Yes. And then how much would the American producer production, what percentage of the budget should they raise before they try this co-production idea?
So it's really about how you're going to spend your money. Can you cheat shooting in Belgium? Are you okay to hire Belgium crew? Are you okay to do post production in Belgium, and things of that sort? And if the subject matter of the film also matters a lot, less than the name of the actor, but if you do have an actor that has some clout internationally, especially, that might also play in your favor, of course. But it's not like I said. I had a 4 million euro budget without a name actor, and they were asking me if I did want somebody with a name, and I said I have to get along with the person, for me, for sure. It's not that I'm against famous actors. It's just sometimes they come up with a huge ego, and it unbalances. I've been on sets as an actor with a famous actor, and it was all about him or her. And then I mean, I was the main bad guy, so they did pay attention to me because I kill people, and
I was I was going to say I've been on sets with a not famous actor who was a diva.
right, right. So you get that a lot, and absolutely, it's fantastic if you have just again a great set of people that get along and want to give their best to make a great project. So
Yes,
that human aspect is for me essential.
absolutely, absolutely. If it's not fun, there's no point, as what I would say. So,
Absolutely.
let's see if anybody has a question. I'd love to see, Marcy.
Yes,
Do you have a
I have a
question?
question.
Yes, go ahead. Please.
Hello,
Hey.
Dan. My question is regarding teasers. In your experience, um, how long do you think the teaser should be? And what's important to include in this teaser to attract the investor? Is it like a short film, like beginning, middle, end, or is it more like a trailer for a
Right.
film?
So there's two. I have two answers because I've done three teasers, and one of them is a prelude. You say prelude in English, right?
Yes.
Prelude.
To the story, because I couldn't afford to go to a chalet and do all that stuff. So it's basically the character before the script, before the story begins, and the two others are actual. They look like trailers. I actually get sales agents that are saying how much for your film and we want to distribute it, and I'm like, it's almost like send me 300,000 and then I'll send it to you in a month. But so yes, you do want to write your teaser and make it between 1 and 2 minutes, uh, uh, and depending again the genre, because of course if it's a slower drama or dramedy, or it might take a little long. It might go to 2 minutes, and but something fast paced, a minute, and great. Have a great editor. It's really that's what I can't emphasize enough. He's the cook, in filmmaking. He sees things that you don't. But write a very actually write the teaser. Like, take pieces of your script, even invent things that will link these together to imagine the editing already in your head. It might change again with the good editor, but at least you have something tight. And then don't hesitate to shoot insert shots if you come up with something. I mean, I found the locations are super important. Locations I found are unbelievable, and it's thanks to friends that I know in Brussels. And like VY Inc., if anyone wants to see the teaser, shot in one location, one building, and in front of the building. And it was just amazing for me to find this location. So that was amazing.
Yeah, the locations can elevate the production value so
Absolutely.
much. And yeah, that's really great.
And
Um,
food is very important as well. I mean, again, just I mean, like I said, that's where you spend the money, and people want to work with you again. And
yeah.
so, did I answer everything? All your questions,
Uh,
Marcy?
pretty much. You mentioned it's important to have a good location in your teaser, 1 to 2 minutes, and it's a
Editor,
hook,
editor,
a hook.
and even the music. I mean, I have friends who are composers. Just reach out to your friends, and just sometimes they may have something that they'll be willing to lend you. And for me, again, use real actors, because all these I hate teasers that take famous scenes from films and then mix them up, and oh, DiCaprio and Matt Damon, what happened? And you start trying to tell a story. It's fine, but again, it doesn't. Basically, my investment was like maybe 1,500, and paying for transportation, food, and renting out any other elements that you need. And but it's because again, the DP friends I had their equipment, and I had it really super well organized. We each had like a real film, treated like a real film, and people will really take it seriously and feel respected. And I paid for makeup for sure, and because there's some blood in one, a little bit of special effects, but
Mhm.
no visual effects. I didn't have anybody for that, but it wasn't the kind of film that necessarily needed that. But I think again, if that's when you also see people who are willing to help you, uh, given the fact that it's a short period. So both were shot in 2 days, and so that's when you keep it short and very tight. That's where everybody's satisfied.
Do you use the real actors of your film, or you put in new people?
So there's no contract with the actors. They know they're shooting a teaser. They can use the teaser however they want to promote themselves as actors. I can't guarantee because again, I will be dealing with a producer. Also, in my organ trafficking script, the main actor doesn't speak any English, but we never see him talk. You have a voiceover from another actor, but nobody ever asked me if the guy speaks English. But he was so great, the perfect physically, what I needed, and so yeah, I mean, and I had planned for it, so he doesn't have a line, and he's the lead actor. So it's really about being creative and just making sure you have like I said, a very good editor that knows what to keep, what to lose.
Okay, thank you.
Please.
Fabulous. Thank you, Marcy. See you next week. Kay, go ahead. Good to see you.
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much for doing this and all of it. Questions in terms of the kind of climate over there, in terms of with the funding opportunities and things. Does it seem like there's a certain budget range that producers over there are looking to kind of work in, and possibly any genres that are more in kind of in demand or kind of hot right now that might influence things?
It's yeah, I mean, it's a tricky question because so just as far as the number, 4 million is often what these productions want to not go under because there's so much paperwork to do to get the basically government money. It's tax money that you're getting. I think it's fantastic that your taxes are going towards something creative. And so, and as far as the genre, I mean, there's really, I mean, it's a 12 million population, but I advise you to look at, for instance, Undercover on Netflix. There's this amazing series, Flemish series, and they did another one, a weird one. It's like a Top Gun done by Flemish people with helicopters saving people. It's super well shot, unbelievable acting, and it's in Flemish. Okay, so it's not going to work necessarily in the States. We'll have to read subtitles, but Netflix offers you the dubbing now. So they also have, yeah, some the Flemish tend to have, again, it's about uh, the market, and if you see Undercover, it's really a cop show, but super well done as well. Undercover cops, and so they might be open to that, but they were open to my organ trafficking script, which is kind of a thriller that still involves a real story about organs being harvested in poor countries. So they love this. They like, Europeans love to also. I mean, I'm now dealing a lot with Africans as well because Africa is the real. At one point you should have maybe this topic, with an African director, Joanne. It's the new land of opportunity. It's amazing the amount of stories, especially with again. I don't mean to digress the subject, but there's so many stories to develop there. And what I was saying is that Europe is often very involved with Africa because of the past, the colonization and things like that. So there's a lot happening with this. That's, I'm guessing, eventually the organ trafficking that stems from Africa, but that of course it's a European company that controls it was also well accepted because of this aspect. That's why I mentioned it. So anything, I think the multicultural is also very interesting. That's why I always mix, like my lead characters in the script that was funded were, I hesitated, but they were Canadians initially because I had Canadian money coming in, but they could have been American as well, who migrated to Brussels and then were working in this company in Brussels, which is very common. You know, you got a lot of Americans or Canadians or that are have come to Brussels as that, you know, capital of Europe, which is very it's a great city to also shoot in because you have the old city, it's chaotic at the same time. You have the parliament that's very modern. I found a street in Brussels, and in the teaser, it looks really. And I've been to Haiti. It looks exactly, that's where the story stems from. It looks like a street in Africa somewhere. It was weird, eerie. So it's a very international, interesting city to shoot in as well. If you're willing to cheat your story in Brussels. Hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you very
Did you have
much.
anything else, Kay? Did you have it? Oh,
Yeah,
did you have any?
just to follow up on that, would you say Europe in general, in terms of the co-productions, that 4 million is kind of the number?
Not necessarily. I mean, this is because, again, it's unique, the tax shelter. Most other countries
Hmm,
have tax rebates, and yeah, you can
got
do
it.
films for, less than 1 million, or from
Okay.
1 to 1.5 is usually in France oftentimes, because you buy. But again, France has got the CNC, which is the Centre Cinéma, and but they usually you have to wait quite a while to get your chunk of money. Depending again, if you bring some money to the table, you're much likelier to get a faster reaction. If you come to say, would like tax shelter, and then we'll see how much we can put, then you kind of have to develop the relationship with the producer, which is what I had to do. But the teaser helped me get that relationship going, if I may say. You need something an appetizer, so they want the main course, right?
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you.
I just put this film in the chat. You were talking about stories from Africa. I just managed to miss this film at my local art house, but it's an African film, a futurist film that I'm dying to
Nice.
see, and I think you can watch it online. So it was just I just wanted to put
Looks
it there.
great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But Dan, thank you so much. I think that there's such opportunity for American producers with this concept of co-production with Europe, and I just a few weeks ago met some of the members of the Spanish Film Commission, and I was telling Kay actually because they said, "Oh, we have castles. We have all kinds of castles. We have every kind of castle you could possibly imagine." Because Kay has a film with castles, um, but there's definitely an openness to having Americans come and make movies there,
Absolutely.
whether it's as you said, to use a city so that it looks like somewhere else, or that the story is set in the place, or that the post production can be done there. So, whichever way, there's definitely
Absolutely.
an openness to doing all of that and to working in that way. So, when are you going to know about this latest film? When are you going to know if it's going to go forward?
Well, like I said, strangely enough, again, life has a way to also lead you to meet certain people that you don't expect to. And I think you got to keep following this Ariane thread. I'm not sure if that's the thread in a labyrinth. Life is it's kind of most of our trajectories are like in a labyrinth, and if you have a little thread you can hang on to, and trust that it will lead you out,
Yes.
then you stay available, and you can not jump on an opportunity, but just again, don't waste time. If don't get too excited, don't get your hopes up too much, but be able to be ready for the unexpected, I think.
Yes, and be ready for the door opening when it's time for it to open is really great.
Absolutely.
So I
I,
can't wait to hear how it all goes. So we'll keep in touch, all right,
no,
Dan?
absolutely, Joanne. It's a pleasure
And
to have exchange with you again and
yes,
everyone here.
and good luck with everything. And I look forward to being able to see your films very soon.
Nice meeting you all. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye.